Animacja po środku na kartonowym tle, dwie dłonie w rękawiczkach. Prawa w białej, lewa w czarnej. Dłonie splatają palce, rozciągają się, znikają. Lalka, nie lalka. Prelekcje inspirowane wystąpieniami typu TED. Ewa Maria Wolska, cichy głos lalki. Dialog z lalką w procesie tworzenia filmu animowanego. Scena.
Dzień dobry, serdecznie witamy Państwa podczas kolejnego dnia festiwalu Lalka nie Lalka. Welcome everyone to our festival Puppet No Puppet. Festiwal realizowany jest dzięki wsparciu finansowemu Ministerstwa Edukacji i Nauki, Ministerstwa Kultury i Dziedzictwa Narodowego oraz z budżetu miasta Białystok. The festival is being held thanks to Ministry of Education and Science as well as Ministry of Culture and National Heritage and City of Białystok. Honorowy patronat sprawuje prezydent miasta Białegostoku. The honorary patronage is held by the president of the city of Białystok, a organizatorami, the organizers of the festival are Akademia Teatralna imienia Aleksandra Zelwerowicza, filia w Białymstoku, Białostocki Teatr Lalek, Białostockie Stowarzyszenie Artystów Lalkarzy i Polunima. A short brief reminder before we start. On Saturday we will have a great chance to take part in a special workshop with Kat Smith. All students who want to take part in that workshops should send registration on Thursday. Registration will start at 9 a.m. And you should send it on that email.
Wyjmuje z notatek kartkę.
Yes, we will.
No.
Okay. So. Okay, you can write it down. Yes. Okay. And now, it will be LED. To będą prelekcje inspirowane wystąpieniami typu TED. It will be lectures inspired by TED speeches. I wysłuchamy dzisiaj 4 prelegentów. We will hear 4 short lectures today. Pierwsze, it will be Ewa Maria Wolska. To będzie pani Ewa Maria Wolska ze swoją prezentacją Cichy głos lalki. Dialogi z lalką w procesie tworzenia filmu animowanego. Quiet voice of a puppet, dialogue with a puppet in my process of creating animated films. Second prelegent is Marek Zimakiewicz. Odrzućcie ogony i opuśćcie to bagno. Kick off the tails and leave this swamp. Next will be Natalia Sakowicz. Uważność i czuły dotyk w pracy z lalką. Mindfulness and sensitive touch while working with puppet. And last but not least, Jakub Matys, multimedialne media ekspresji, multimedia expression media. The host of Let's Talks is Katarzyna Siergiej, and now I'm gonna give her voice. Gospodarzem dzisiejszego wydarzenia będzie pani Kasia Siergiej i oddaję jej mikrofon.
I'm giving you that. So first we will hear Ewa Maria Wolska. She is a graduate of our academy and also co-founder of Fractal Theatre, which was created in 2018. And this theater, Fractal Theatre, consists of graduates of our academy, and I can see Karolina Martin and Emil Lipski somewhere there on stage. These are also members, yes, here. Hello, yeah. Members of Fractal Theatre. You could see their performance, Biba Fish, this morning at 11. Yesterday, okay, you could see it yesterday, and Eva will not talk about it. While as part of Fractal Theatre, there is also Fractal Film Factory, which is film animation studio, which she founded and created, and she prepares films, animated films there. She has already produced 3 films, which were awarded nationally and in Europe, and now she became a member of jury of Florida Animation Festival, so she's really, you know, somebody important. Yeah. And she will talk about the process of creating an animated film. Ewa Maria Wolska, let's hear it.
Kasia podaje Ewie mikrofon. W głębi sceny ekran do prezentacji.
Thank you so much for this introduction and hello everyone. If you don't mind, I will just stand here because I will look a little bit at my papers. So you know who I am a little bit. And I created in my studio 3 animated films till now. All of them I made in stop motion technique, and 2 first were made with puppets. And the last one is more experimental video, but I will tell in detail a little later. So the title of my talk, I kind of made a little change in that because I added, like to quiet voice of a puppet, I added a stubborn voice of intuition because I just realized that I have a lot of things to tell about this. My inner dialogues in the process of creating animated films.
Ewa pochyla się nad notatkami.
Okay, so no, we'll come back later. Yeah. So, as a word of introduction, I just wanted to tell that for me, making art is really a very personal path. I really treat it as some kind of spiritual thing, and in a way, if I would describe it in other words, it means for me like somehow launching myself into the unknown. And there somehow I meet with my fears, my pain, and I'm just trying to, also my passions, of course, and some funny things, but I'm trying to express those things, and I'm really fascinated with this complex and delicate matter of emotions. Yeah, so those things that I will talk about are quite personal in a way. Yes, so the first animation that I made was My Dear Quarantine. I made it in 2020, and it was some kind of pandemic creative shelter for me, like making this studio, because, well, the studio is just my room, and I cover the windows and move the furniture, and there I have it. So as you can see, my forms are also very small. And this is how it's possible in this independent art circles. Yeah. So the inspiration for my first film was watching the like multiple videos and pictures from the wild animals that enter the city centers during the times of pandemic, and I was just really excited about the fact that it was enough for us, I mean humans, to leave the wilderness in peace for, like, let's say 1 or 2 weeks, and after that moment the wild animals started to visit us. And I was just really shocked. I felt like, oh my God, so maybe somehow we are a little bit stronger connected than we even think. And they just showed so much curiosity and so much like childlike joy when discovering the city centers. I was just really amazed. Especially I loved, there was one video of, and now I will show you those pictures. Those inspirations, yes, I saw, like, there was also a recording, I didn't find it later, but there was a recording of a group of sheep from Scotland. They were discovering a playground, and they were really playing on a merry-go-round, and they just looked like children. I mean, crazy. Yeah, so this was like the first chisp of inspiration, and on the other hand, I really very strongly experienced this feeling of being closed in those rectangular cubes, concrete cubes that we inhabit, at least I do. I live just in a block of flats, and I just felt this tension between those two things. And so I decided to create, like, kind of recreate my own room. I mean, maybe my own room looks a little different, but I wanted to have it very simple in the animation. I just made a room, and then I put my protagonist. But yes, first I wanted to show you those inspirations. So a few pictures from the streets, from here and there. I believe one of those were taken in Zakopane because there were deers as well in Zakopane. Wild pigs.
Na zdjęciach zwierzęta, na ostatnim lalka.
And yes, here we have, I will show you him. This is the first puppet that I have ever made. And from that moment, I felt a little bit less lonely during those pandemic closed times.
Ewa otwiera skrzynkę.
Yeah, so here he is.
Ze środka wyjmuje kilkucentymetrową lalkę, zwierzę z rogami. Ustawia na skrzynce.
Okay, so he will stay with us. Yeah.
Ewa zagląda do notatek.
Okay, so as I told you, I just had this like a concept for this story. I wanted to meet those two states. Like first of this this character, this man that feels so closed, and then this creature appears. But before it happens, I just decided. I mean, decided or not, I just worked without really a plan, but I had a feeling that if I want to express boredom and loneliness and feeling closed, then in some way I can also bore the viewer. So it was in a way a little bit, I mean, I even felt like I should a little bit, and I felt it was a safe thing to do. Yeah, and during this time I really had like some kind of mixed feelings, because there were moments that I was losing the understanding of who is mimicking whom. If I'm mimicking the protagonist, or the protagonist is mimicking my own life. So after all those scenes of him typing and lying down, looking through the window, after maybe 2 or 3 weeks of making such takes, on one day I just felt like, oh my God, I just sit down and I looked at him and I felt like, oh my God, but what would you want? And he just silently looked at me, and then I understood that he wanted coffee. So this was his very silent but understandable voice. So here we have the protagonist in his room, very bored.
Na ekranie zmieniają się zdjęcia.
Yeah, he was looking through the window, and there we had this is the opening scene with the coffee, and there we had this merry-go-round as well. And here I wanted to show you a little excerpt. I hope it will work. Fingers crossed. Okay. One second.
Ewa pochyla się nad laptopem. Włącza fragment filmu.
Here it will. No voice, unfortunately. Not much.
Na ekranie animacja. Postać siedzi przy oknie. Przez szybę obserwuje podwórkową karuzelę.
Okay, so I will come back to the presentation. Sorry for those technical troubles. Yeah, here we are.
Na ekranie kadr z filmu.
So my second animation was made in a response of a program launched by Unima Korea. A friend of mine just sent me this information that they are inviting puppeteers from all over the world to create videos with a message of hope for pandemic times. And I felt like, oh my God, what a beautiful idea, but I just made a video like this. So I wanted in the same time, and I felt that I didn't have much to say about this topic anymore. It was also a few months later, and honestly I felt more and more blue and sad, and I just felt like, who am I even to give hope to anyone if I feel like that? And then I just heard this voice telling me, well, you're an artist and your only job is to express what you're feeling. And so this is when I decided to make the video about this feeling, like really small in front of problems of the huge world. And I decided to make a very little puppet and put it in an oversized room, oversized world. Yeah, so I will show you some pictures. from this video. And in a way, it was really a fantastic experience because working on this animation helped me personally, I have to say, and somehow I regained a little bit of hope, and I understood that, okay, difficult emotions are for difficult times, and it's just important to stay with at least a grain of hope in a pocket. We can be quite depressed, and it's fine, but it's important not to lose it completely. So here we have this little girl with a huge book. Yeah, in the end I will show you the whole video because it's very short. Coffee again. So pandemic leitmotifs. And my last animation is titled Tears, Tears, Tears. And it was the most difficult work for me. I mean, animation work. Maybe because it's some kind of conceptual art, I would say, or because it's experimental. But also I feel that the topic itself was really loaded for me because I was planning on making something connected with this topic of crying and tears for years. And during that time, I think I worked all in all almost maybe half year on this project. And I created concepts at least for 2 other films, but with this one, I just had a thought because I really value in art this marriage between form and topic, or form and meaning, and this is why I really wanted to work with some transparent materials. And I felt like, oh my God, and how would it be if I would make a film just of water? And I felt like, oh my, but how would I do it? With like droplets of water, what can I do? And then I felt like, oh, maybe I will work with ice because one can carve the ice, and it also melts. It's really plastic. It's really exciting materials. And so all that film is made just of water and light. And there were those letters that I was preparing in molds. And also I made a form of heart, but I will tell you in a moment. But what I decided to do when I was thinking that I thought that I would make like many etudes about this topic of crying, but then I felt like, what if one of them would be a list of emotions that are just like flying by our heart and melting down, just like a river in our heart, in our life. The concept kind of fascinated me so much that I decided to make a lot of them. I started with just the basic emotions, and then I felt, no, I want all shades of emotions, and so I followed, and I let the obsessive part of me take the lead. So I don't know. I made probably around 80 or 90 emotions. 120 takes or something like this crazy. I was shooting for more than 2 months, and really I felt like a Buddhist monk, you know, those that are making the sand pictures, mandalas, so it was like really a meditative process for me, and I will confess that I almost didn't use the automatic shutter, so just to invite you to this world of craziness. Okay, and one of the takes in this, or scenes in this film, it's this heart made of ice. And with this work, I really felt that it was the magical moment of this animation. I mean, working with this ice heart, because well, it was really difficult. I made this scene 9 times, and I experimented with a lot of things because depending on the temperature of water, the length of the stay in the freezer, the fact like how much oxygen was in the water that I worked with, then the temperature in the studio, finally maybe temperature of my hands. I really always I was cooling my hands during this work to make it melt a little bit slower and not to impact it too much. So it really had a lot of impact, and all those hearts were different. But what was so fascinating for me, well, first of all, that when the words were escaping from the screen, I didn't mind. I even really loved it. I felt like it's really some emotion that is like going up or down, that it also has some metaphoric meaning. But with the heart, it kind of nerved me because it was melting down and the droplets were making it spin or float out of the screen. I really couldn't make anything with that. And then I felt like, okay, emotions can like fly by the heart, but I really have to control the heart. And as metaphoric as it sounds, I decided to do it. And so I used some kind of soap holders, you know, those things made of latex, the transparent material. It was important because this is transparent, because I was also working on a glass, and I was lighting from both sides and also from beneath. There was a lamp beneath these forms. So I made this scene, and then I reversed it. So the scene in the film is it starts with some kind of, I don't know, cells or bacteria or whatever, and then it's just growing. But what I really wanted to achieve was a beating heart. And and this is we are coming to the magical moment of this work, because I really wanted this ice heart to beat. And I was thinking, how would I make a nice heart beat? And I felt, okay, maybe I will try to reverse the pictures. You know, like I will later, in post-production, I will play them like forward and backwards, like toof, 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 toof. And I thought it would work this way because, of course, it was growing, and then I could make it smaller. And indeed, I used it, but the fascinating thing that happened, really mesmerizing moment, was when I made finally this take, the 9th trial or rehearsal, or well, just not rehearsal, whatever. I made it the 9th time, and then I played it, and the heart started to beat itself. Because the droplets, I mean, there were this feeling that it's like beating, that there are maybe some aortas pulsing, that something is happening, because the droplets of water were like coming down, and they were creating shadows. And I was cleaning like all this time. I was sitting there, and I was between the pictures, I was cleaning the water with tissues. And let's say that I was making it every like 10-20 seconds. And the fact that they were disappearing suddenly created this feeling of beating. So I will show you a little part of that. There are some different pictures of it. No, we don't want this now.
Ewa pochyla się nad laptopem. Włącza fragment czarno-białej animacji. Po środku niewielki punkt. Powiększa się, faluje.
This is the growing heart. Actually, you can see a little moment. But it takes 2 minutes, so I will just go later. You can already see that there is some kind of pulsing there beneath, and the heart is growing, and you can see it.
Serce z pajęczyną naczyń. Faluje, powiększa się.
Okay, so it's like growing and beating, and I will just show you some words, maybe disappearing, how it looks.
Pojawiają się litery. Tworzą słowo pain. Pain zmienia się w fear. Litery zlewają się z tłem, znikają.
Yeah, and in the end, I wanted to show you Dick Candy, as I call it sometimes, which is small, quite small. And you can also see the other film, My Dear Quarantine, I think on the YouTube channel of the festival. We've sent it there. 1 second. Yeah, voila. Thank you so much.
Kolorowa animacja. W różowej pościeli śpi brunetka. Budzi się, siada, rozgląda się. Z prawej pojawiają się napisy. Sometimes I feel quite small. Brunetka macha stopami. Small hands, small feet. Brunetka siedzi w filiżance. Rozgląda się, tapla się w pianie, głowę wspiera o krawędź. Dress small. Brunetka siedzi przed lustrem. Ma na sobie czerwoną sukienkę. My hope is also small. Dłońmi poprawia długie, kręcone włosy, wpatruje się w swoje odbicie, zgina kolana. Brunetka przy biurku, klęczy na krześle, przekłada strony książki. Książka jest wielkości niej samej. Z trudem przekłada kartki, pochyla głowę nad wersami, wiatr porusza firanką. Brunetka stoi przy komodzie, patrzy na doniczkę z kwiatkiem. Sometimes I think. Kwiat rośnie, staje się większy od niej samej. That is enough. Wokół pojawiają się doniczki z ogromnymi roślinami. Pokój przypomina dżunglę. Brunetka stoi na biurku na zamkniętej książce. Rozgląda się, kołysze jak w tańcu, wychyla się zza rośliny. Kwiaty wirują przed nią. Brunetka przykłada dłonie do piersi, przygląda się kwiatom. Brunetka trzyma się liścia jak liany, przelatuje między gęstwiną roślin. Na podłodze balon z koszem. Brunetka przygląda się, wsiada do kosza. Balon unosi się, podlatuje w naszą stronę. Czerwień sukienki wypełnia kadr. Na czerwonym tle białe napisy końcowe. A film by Ewa Maria Wolska. Brunetka stoi wśród roślin. Ktoś trzyma w dłoni lalkę, brunetkę. Ma około 10 centymetrów.